Hello and welcome back to Just an Average Metalhead. I am Matt, I'm your host, and today we are talking about Iron Maiden. Today is what I'm going to call the beginner's guide to Iron Maiden. I'm going to be doing a beginner's guide series to quite a few bands. We're going to be talking a little bit of history of when the band formed, the lineup, and then we're going to go through some essential albums and albums to avoid for new starters. So let's get going. Iron Maiden were formed in 1975 by bassist Steve Harris, and they had a rocky sort of 5 years trying to get the main lineup nailed down. They released their original debut in 1980. They had a couple of singers change from the lineup that people would know at the time. Like the lead singer for the first two albums was singer Paul Di'Anno, and the drummer for the first three albums was drummer Clive Burr. Both of them exceptionally talented. I've got they were absolutely brilliant. So let's go on to the current lineup today, which hasn't really changed that much. We've got Bruce Dickinson, the vocalist that many people will probably go, oh yeah, that's I know him from he's the Iron Maiden vocalist most people think about. Bass player Steve Harris, been there since day one. Nico McBrain, he's been the drummer for Maiden since album number 4, Peace of Mind. And then we have the triple guitar attack of Dave Murray, Adrian Smith and Yannick Gers. Dave Murray has been with the band from day one. Adrian Smith left in the early 90s and was replaced by Yannick Gers. And then when Adrian Smith came back in the year 2000, they just kept it as a triple guitar attack, and for me it works absolutely perfectly. So let's go on to the essential albums. Right, let's get started. For me, like many people, I will say the debut Iron Maiden album is probably your best place to start. It is a demonstration of it's Iron Maiden at the rawest, but their sound is there from day dot. Like I said, different lead singer from most of the albums you're going to be listening to that I'm going to recommend, but Paul Di'Anno, he has more of a rough, more punky vocal style. He's not the human air raid siren that Bruce Dickinson is, but for me it works on these songs. But then again, I'm a big fan of when Bruce sings these songs as well. For me, the essential songs to listen to on this album are Prowler, Running Free, which is a staple in the Maiden set today, Phantom of the Opera. For any older people, you will remember this is the song that used to be on the Daley Thompson Lucozade advert. Charlotte the Harlot, absolute, yeah, it's got that sort of traditional new wave of pretty heavy metal sound, but a bit of a punk snarl to it. It proper kicks your teeth in. And the song Iron Maiden, yet again, is another live staple. It's usually Running Free and Iron Maiden are usually the 1-2 finishing punch for Iron Maiden live. Definitely, this for me is the best place to start. Just so if you like the sound of this, you're going to love what's coming next. Okay, right. This is the album where I start. Well, no, I started with Somewhere in Time, but this is the first actual Iron Maiden album that I bought myself, because everybody kept wazzing off about it. So, Number of the Beast, probably one of the most famous Iron Maiden albums. That, like, if you go, oh yeah, you need to listen to Iron Maiden, check out Number of the Beast, which I can completely see why. For me, it's not the 10 out of 10 album that everybody says it is, but it is bloody brilliant. It was released in 1982. So, yeah, this is the third album, first album featuring Bruce Dickinson on vocals, and he pretty much changed the game from the start. This is the album where things really started booting off for him. Essential tracks on here: Invaders, track number 1, gives you a good sort of like intro point to like the sound going forward. Children of the Damned, Bruce's vocals on this just, oh, perfect. The Prisoner, track number 3, is, if you want some campy fun, based on the old TV series The Prisoner. I'm not a number. I'm not. I'm a free man. That says everything. Obviously, Number of the Beast and Run to the Hills. They're the big songs for a reason. They're amazing, even though they are a bit played to death. But totally worth it. Absolutely brilliant. And Hallowed Be Thy Name is probably, for me, it's the track on the album. But songs such as like Gangland and Total Eclipse in the middle, like towards the back end, are a bit so. That's what holds this album back for me. But yeah, great album. No complaints from me on this one. Definitely a good place to another good place to start, as well as the debut. Just give you that intro to Maiden sound and see what you think. Right, the album that came after. It's sort of gone down as a bit of a legendary run from Number of the Beast onwards to, and I'll tell you when it stops. But album number 4, Peace of Mind. Again, great album. It's not for me. It's not the 10 out of 10 that everybody says it is, but it's bloody good. It is bloody good. Again, you could see that you can hear in this one that Bruce and the band are getting a lot more comfortable with each other, and the addition of like swapping out drummer Clive Burr for Nico McBrain on this one. Nico is a powerhouse. He slaps the hell out of that kit, and it's a great addition. Not that Clive Burr wasn't good. He was fucking fantastic. But yeah, this is where things really start to click into place, and you can tell Maiden are comfortable. For me, the essential tracks on this one are Revelations, just starting to branch out more with dynamics, and you can tell they're having a lot of fun. Flight of Icarus, brilliant. Again, it's become a bit of a mainstay live. Die With Your Boots On. This song will kick you in the face. It is a million miles an hour, and you could just tell they're having fun, and it is a early 80s metal classic. I forgot to say, this came out in 1983, so again a year after Number of the Beast. Very typical at the time. Album every year, album tour. That cycle, get things going. But yeah, obviously the big track from this album is The Trooper. Again, there's a reason why it's one of the biggest tracks on this album, and as much as I hate to say it, it is overplayed, but it's a great album, and that's just probably great. I think the only two singles from this album I think were Flight of Icarus and The Trooper, which is a shame because I would have loved to have like Revelations or Die With Your Boots On as a single at the time, but it is what it is. It came out 9 years before I was born, so don't really have a say in that. Okay, next album. Another part of the legendary run. We have Power Slave. As you may have noticed as well, every album has a mascot. His name is Eddie. He's cool as hell. He's on the cover of every Iron Maiden album. Originally designed by artist Derek Riggs. Power Slave was released in 1984. And for me, this is Iron Maiden at the best. For me, every single song, bar one, this is a 9 out of 10 for me. This because I just don't like the instrumental. It doesn't really do a lot for me. Sorry. But yeah, 9 out of 10. Absolutely spectacular. Iron Maiden, just at peak performance. Again, year after Peace of Mind came out, but fantastic. And this led to probably, for my money, one of my favourite live albums, Live After Death, on the Power Slave tour at Long Beach Arena in America, in Los Angeles. But essential tracks on this: Ace is High, again, reliable concert starter in their career. 2 Minutes to Midnight, again, so much fun. The guitar work on this, and like, what do I say? Yeah, 2 Minutes to Midnight. It's again one of the big singles. Well, I've just double headed with the two big singles from this album: Ace is High, 2 Minutes to Midnight. Just so much fun, and yeah, I struggle what to say with this album. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't get spoken about enough, but it is absolutely brilliant. Another essential track, Flash of the Blade. It's really showing that at the time the dual guitar harmonies between Dave Murray and Adrian Smith at the start, and a song about sword fighting, which at the time Bruce Dickinson was an Olympic grade fencer. Is there anything that he can't do? Probably not. The actual title track, Power Slave. Oh my god. This for me is where Iron Maiden really start sort of like flexing the muscles, showing people what they can do, and the last essential track off this album is probably I think is one of the best songs they've ever written, and that's Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Over 10 minutes. For me, it is one of the most well-crafted songs of all time, with a real cool sort of like break in the middle, and then the build back into like the new wave of heavy metal sound, and based on the classic literary tale of Rime of the Ancient Mariner. It's just storytelling at its finest, musicianship at its finest. Please, please, please listen to Rime of the Ancient Mariner. That song is so damn good. Right. Going on to my favourite Iron Maiden album now. Somewhere in Time. Somewhere in Time. From the artwork to the musicianship to just the stage show at the time. Yeah, I'm a nerd. I've gone back and looked at what the stage show looked like at the time. This album for me is a 10 out of 10 out of 10 out of 10. It's perfect, absolutely perfect. I can't even give you an essential essential songs to listen to. Just listen to every song on this album. Just yeah. Okay, sorry, should have had some water before I started filming this. Yeah, this album is absolutely brilliant. It was released in 1986, and for me, this album sets up perfectly what a lot of people see as Iron Maiden's magnum opus in the next album we're going to be talking about. Again, that album for me is a 10 out of 10 as well. Absolutely perfect. But this is where they started introducing synths into the music, and I'm a bugger for synths and keyboards. Throw in a keyboard solo, I'm ready to party. But there's no keyboard solos on this. It's all melded in perfectly into the Iron Maiden sound, and you're in for a party when you listen to this one. Yeah, every song off this album is great. I highly, highly recommend checking this album out. It's maybe not where I would choose people to start, but it's definitely, definitely worth checking out. Please, please, please check out Somewhere in Time. As you can see, I've got a big poster of the artwork behind my head. Right, next album, 1988, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Where to even start with this? This is, for many people's monies, Iron Maiden's magnum opus. It is, again, same as Somewhere in Time, perfect from start to finish. It's absolutely amazing. It's a concept album, sort of like talking about like mysticism, seventh son of the seventh son. And for my money, it's got some of Maiden's biggest songs, such as Moonchild, Infinite Dreams, Can I Play with Madness, The Evil That Men Do, The Clairvoyant. It's for this. Oh, do you know what? For me, this is a good place to start, because it's probably their most radio friendly album, but it's also at the same time in places it's one of their more complex with the addition to like proggy elements and stuff. Again, this album, there's no like real essential listening off this album. Every track on this album is a 10 out of 10. From start to finish, this album is a party. Totally worth your time. Right, now we are getting into where to go, like the essential listens of their more modern day output. This is from year 2000 onwards, and we're going to start with Brave New World. First album back with Adrian Smith and Bruce Dickinson back in the band, and they started off running. They, as soon as their feet hit the floor, that's it. They were going for it. Tracks like The Wicker Man, Ghost of the Navigator, the actual title track, Brave New World, Blood Brothers, Dream of Mirrors, The Thin Line Between Love and Hate, which is the final track, which, Bruce's vocals just absolutely soar in The Thin Line Between Love and Hate. I would try and imitate it, but still struggling with a bit of a cold. I apologise. But yeah, this is how to get his career started again. And oh my god. For me, this next album I'm going to talk about is a bit of an underrated gem. I know why some people don't really like it, but for me, as a lover of like more like proggy stuff, I'm a fan. Completely apologise for coughing again. Really should have had a drink of water before I started filming this. But yeah, Dance of Death. The As much as the album artwork for this is shonky as hell, it's still a really fun album for me, and yeah, I absolutely adore this album more than I should, because this is the first of the for me, I've got a bit of a soft spot for it because it's the first modern Maiden album that I ever listened to. Tracks like Wildest Dreams, which just boots things off great. Rainmaker, just again, it's Maiden as you know it. Just it's great. Yeah, No More Lies, the actual title track, Dance of Death, which is so much fun. It's Then you get into stuff like Passchendaele, storytelling at its finest. It's a bit slower, a bit more proggy, but telling the story of Passchendaele in World War One, and it's a heartbreaker, but it's brilliant. It's not a 10 out of 10 like I would describe Brave New World as a 10 out of 10. This is probably about a 7 out of 10 because this is where they're really, for me, they're cutting the teeth of what they can do. They understand they're a bit older. They can't go at it like they used to, but it's still good. It's probably one of the weaker ones of one of the albums that I'm going to be mentioning, but it still has a big place in my heart. Right, we're going back to another 10 out of 10. Oh yeah, Dance of Death was 2003. This album was 2006, and it is a matter of life and death. Who lit the bonfire under Iron Maiden for this album? I don't know. But oh my god, it's so damn good. They are playing like their lives depend on it. It's still got the proggy elements, but they seem to be like hitting at it a bit like better than they did last time. But holy hell, this album is great. Songs like Different Worlds, These Colours Don't Run, Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, another like the prog like double hit of prog like epics of Reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg and For the Greater Good of God. Last track, The Legacy, which is like 9 minutes 20, same as The Greater Good of God is 9 minutes 24. Oh, like a lot of these songs are close to 10 minutes, but they are so good and they are playing like their life depends on it. This is also the era of time where there's a bit of a feud going on between Sharon Osbourne and Iron Maiden, and they seem to play when they were played at Leeds Fest this year. They were playing like they were out to fucking clatter everybody in the audience. It was so good. I remember watching it on TV. It was banging. Right. We are going to their latest release now. 2021's Senjutsu. This is the album that, for me, Iron Maiden came back. I know people say that was Book of Souls, but for me, Bruce's voice still isn't 100% on Book of Souls. But he just battled throat cancer. I'm not holding it against him, but I can take a leave. A lot of Book of Souls, it seems like there was just sort of, I wouldn't say autopilot, but they was trying to like ease themselves gently back into it. Senjutsu is the album that Maiden came back. The title track, Stratego, Writing on the Wall, Days of Future Past, Darkest Hour, Death of the Celts on my favourite song on this album, Hell on Earth. This album is absolutely fucking fantastic, and I was so happy when it came out that they'd released an album where I'm listening to it all the time. 2 years later, I absolutely adore this record, and it makes me so happy that the band that I love are still capable of writing great music. But going forward now, we are not talking about great music. Now, if you are beginning to listen to Iron Maiden, for my money, these are the albums to avoid. There's only 3, but I'll be quite honest, they're stinkers. And, it bums me out. Especially this first one. I got so excited. It's the first Maiden album I really got excited about. And it wasn't great. That is The Final Frontier. Final Frontier was released in 2010. I would be about 17 when this album was released. And the only song I can really say is worth it is probably When the Wild Wind Blows, but still, it's not great. This is Maiden on autopilot, and it shows. They really doubled down on like the proggy elements and the moments where they kick into the Iron Maiden sound. Yeah, it is genuinely just like bleh. It's not good. It is Maiden by numbers, and nobody wants Maiden by numbers. It genuinely is like they weren't interested. And even when they did like the On Vivo tour, well, the tour that's on the On Vivo DVD where they was covering most of the modern stuff, this album's material is probably the duffest out of the lot. Oh, and I hate saying that. I'm just not a fan of Final Frontier at all. No. Right, we're going for a double hitter on this because as much as I'm an Iron Maiden fan, these 2 albums I struggle to listen to all the way through. These are 2 of the 2 Iron Maiden albums from the sort of like late 90s, like mid to late 90s, after Bruce Dickinson had left and they replaced him with lead singer Blaze Bayley. Adrian Smith had long gone at that point, so Yannick Gers was in the band. But talking X Factor and Virtual 11. X Factor, it's a lot darker of an album. It's 11 tracks. And for me, out of the 11 tracks, there is 2 worth listening to. Sign of the Cross, it brings forward that more traditional storytelling side of Maiden, but it's a little bit long-winded. And Man on the Edge, which is probably it's the best song on the album. It is really good. I do listen to that song on the regular, but everything else is, it's just dull. It does nothing for me. I've only really gone back and listened to this full album over the past couple of years. Like, I bought it ages ago to complete my collection, but it was one of those where I was terrified of listening to it. But unfortunately, it's not great. Not a fan. And to complete that to the nth degree, I'm definitely not a fan of this hunk of shit. There is one good song on this album, The Klansman, which is still, they still do play to this day, and it sounds amazing when Bruce sings it. But saying that, it sounds great when Blaze Bayley sings it on this record. But the rest of the album, barring maybe Future Real, even though that's a push, depends what day you catch me on, is bomb. The song The Angel and the Gambler is the worst song Iron Maiden have ever written. It is like Baby's first Maiden. It is awful. Do not listen to this album. Again, it's so dull. It's Iron Maiden by numbers. That is the one thing that I don't like, is where they are resting on their laurels and it's Maiden by numbers. To be fair, I could throw the Book of Souls into this part where it's Maiden by numbers. That's one of 3 albums I've not spoke. 4 albums I've not spoke about. The only reason I've not spoken about Killers is, for me, if you like the first album, you'll like Killers. But for me, there's no really. If you're a beginner, it's not somewhere I would start. And yeah, No Prayer for the Dying and Fear of the Dark. It's a Sound of Maiden lost. There are still some great songs on those albums, but yeah, not amazing. To close out on this, I know I've gone on for well over half an hour talking about Maiden, but for me, Iron Maiden are the biggest metal band to come out of the UK. They have got to the point now where they've transcended metal. They are. If you say to somebody in the street, "I like heavy metal," oh, like Iron Maiden, like they might not know what they sound like, but they know the name. And for me, that's just shows you what impact they've had on the world. They are my favourite band on the planet, and I'm a little bit biased, so maybe take this video with a pinch of salt. But if you're thinking about checking out Iron Maiden, those are the albums that I'd definitely start on. Yeah, I hope you all have a good day, and keep the faith. See you next time.